Today we're going to talk about what might be the best smallmouth bass fishing bait, and this is the one that I never leave home without, as it will catch smallmouth on almost every body of water. Throughout today's video we will show you what this bait is and how to rig it, where to fish this bait for the most amount of success, and how to fish this bait to catch even more smallmouth. So stay tuned, and we're going to be catching a bunch of smallmouth bass in no time. So the bait for today's video is obviously going to be the Berkley Power Bait Max Scent Flatworm. This thing catches smallmouth no matter where you fish. If you've ever watched some of the Bassmaster Elite Series events, the MLF videos, all of those tournaments, there will always be someone throwing a Max Scent Flatworm, if not multiple, in the top 10 anytime they go to the St. Lawrence, Champlain, those northern smallmouth fisheries. It always shows up. My favorite is when you got a guy that says he caught them on an unnamed drop shot bait. Most of the time, it's this guy right here. But why is this bait so effective for smallmouth bass? And to be honest, I can't answer that question 100% because I don't really know. I don't know if it is the scent that is really enticing on these fish. When you think about it, smallmouth bass are sight feeders. They visually look for their food. They're usually in clear water. So you would think that the scent wouldn't really be the big difference maker, but sometimes it might. I fished this bait head to head against a bunch of other baits, and this one always comes out on top. Couple other things really might play in these are the color selection are very natural, might mimic the forage that they feed on really well, and that's why it works so well. The shape might be perfect, the size might be perfect, even the matte finish that's on these guys because of the way the scent absorbs into these baits. I've seen other companies like Great Lakes Finesse and even people take regular soft plastics. When they come out of the mold, they're shiny. So they'll roll them on their deck of their boat and it'll get that shiny finish off and wear them down a little bit. So when you have a fish that's feeding visually, it's not bright and flashy, it's a little bit more muted and natural, and sometimes that will entice those fish in. So I don't know if it's one or the other or however many combinations of things with these baits, but they really do work. That's why I always keep a few bags of these in the boat anytime I'm fishing my northern smallmouth fisheries up here. It's just a staple. If they're not biting any of my other techniques, I know I can pull this out and get some bites. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. We're gonna show you where to fish this, how to fish it, and we are gonna catch a bunch of smallmouth. We're wrapping up for the day, but we caught a bunch of smallmouth on these right here. Two colors that I usually keep in the boat are green pumpkin or natural shad. Today we had bait fish eating fish, so we went through the natural shad pretty good, but they did bite the green pumpkin as well. There's plenty of other colors they come in, so they will work no matter what color you want to choose. Pick your favorite one, you will catch fish with it. My favorite way to rig this up is your standard drop shot rig. You can rig them other ways. I've seen people do them on a Ned rig. You could even Nico rig this thing. You could literally do whatever you want with it, but day in, day out, a drop shot rig is going to be the way to go and my favorite way to catch a bunch of smallmouth. What I have on here is a size 1 drop shot hook from 6 cents. And then down on the bottom here, I have a 3/8 ounce weight, and I got about an 18-inch leader today. Leader size, truthfully today, did not matter because we're fishing for suspended fish. So this, I'm literally just pitching this out and then hovering it in the water column where those fish are. We'll show you that in a second here once we get up on the front deck. But then I just nose hook that bait right on there, and it's as simple as that. For the gear, I have my Shimano Sedona I use on pretty much all of my spinning rods. 2500 size, has that drag to be able to land these big smallmouth. And then I have 10-pound braid on here. This is Suffix 832 in the lime green, so I can see what my bait's doing, know where it is in the water column, especially when I'm dragging this on the bottom. We're not gonna be doing that today, but when you're dragging it on the bottom, this is super important to be able to see where your line is and know if you're on the bottom or if that bait's still pulling some line out. You know that you have left the bottom and your bait might not be where the fish are. So that's super important with that lime green color, and then the braid gives you more sensitivity. I have an FG knot on here that I've been testing out to 8-pound test fluorocarbon, and then I got about a 10-foot leader on there that runs all the way down to my bait. And then this is the Cashin Ned rig rod. We're catching these fish in open water. They don't really have to snag us up on anything down there. I literally set the hook on these, get them coming towards the boat, and then I back the drag off and let them dig until they wear themselves out, and then you can just easily land them and get them in the boat. So as long as you have a quality spinning rod set up like that, 7-foot, medium, fast action, you're good to go with this technique. It's a pretty basic one. It's one that I've used for many years, and this is just one of my northern smallmouth fish catchers. Like I use a wacky rig for largemouth and always get bit doing that. This flatworm on a drop shot is the same thing for me up here in the Northeast. I know that if I put this on and fish it around smallmouth, I will get bit. So let's head up on the front deck. We're gonna show you where to fish it and how to fish it, catch some fat smallmouth. So now that we talked about the gear and the way to rig this bait up to catch a bunch of smallmouth, let's talk about where and how to fish this bait, because that's ultimately how you're gonna catch the most amount of fish. This really depends on the body of water that you're fishing, whether it's a lake, stream, river. If you're fishing in a lot of current like a river, you might have fish that actually get behind rock piles. So like I can graph around for rock piles. Just like that, you can find some big chunky rock, and that's where those fish will want to be. They might get behind that for a current break, look around for food, do different stuff like that. Today, we're fishing a lake that's actually drawn down like 10, 15 feet from Summer Pool, and it's sucked all the fish out with it. So these fish are actually out running the edges of these rock piles looking for bait, and then they're suspended chasing bait around. So we're gonna show you how to catch some suspended fish with a drop shot today too, because it's a great bait for that. Realistically, all you want to do is find the highest percentage areas on your body of water. Doesn't matter if it's a community hole or what it might be. If you know there's fish there, fish this bait there, and most likely you will catch fish. If you fish it properly and fish very thoroughly and slow, very, very rarely will a fish, specifically smallmouth, turn down a flatworm. So what you're gonna do is kind of just soak your bait in these places and try to get as many bites as possible, even on slow days of fishing. Today's been a very, very slow day of fishing, and we're gonna see if we can catch us some fish even though the fishing has been slow. I actually see one here. This is what we're looking for. You can see that dot right there sitting right in the middle of that bait ball. Let's throw our bait at him and see if we can get him to bite before we move on to showing you like how to actually fish this bait and catching fish with it. This fish probably is not gonna bite with how slow it's been today, but we'll give it a shot. Well, no luck on that one, but we'll get to more. We'll show you how to actually catch these fish. That's the biggest thing though. Make sure you're keeping your bait in a very high percentage area as long as you can, and that'll get you the most amount of fish throughout the day, no matter how tough the fishing is. Now let's talk a little bit about how to actually fish this bait so you can catch more fish. We'll show you how to fish it if they were on these rock piles, just because that's a key part of how to fish this bait. And then we'll show you how we're fishing it differently on these and catch some fish afterwards. So all I'm really gonna do is find the area I wanna put my bait. I'm gonna throw it out there, and I'm gonna watch this lime green braid sink down. I'm watching my line go out. I'll feed it some slack because we're in like 20 foot of water here, but I'll watch my line go out until it lays on the bottom. Once that bait lays flat on the bottom, I'm gonna go ahead and just reel up my slack until I've come tight with the bait. And I don't wanna shake it like this. We will shake it when we're actually fishing for these suspended fish out here, but that's because we're trying to coax them into biting. But for these fish that'll be on the bottom out here, places that everyone knows where they're at, and you really just wanna soak it and get a lot of bites, I prefer to just drag it like this. So I'll reel up my slack till I'm tight with it, and I'll just feel my bait kind of work over all those rocks down on the bottom, and slowly drag it. Then I'll reel up my slack, and then I'll slowly drag it again. And then you can always bottom check yourself. See, like I picked it up there and I could tell my line was still going out, so I knew I'd left the bottom. So I used that lime green braid to know that. I can drop it back down to the bottom, and drag a little slower again, and see if I can get one. Unfortunately, we're not gonna catch one doing that today because there's literally no fish doing that. But we will try and catch some out here doing this, because the flatworm catches fish really no matter what the conditions are. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for these bait balls out here, and I'm just gonna pan around until I find a fish. I'm gonna pitch my bait at it, and then I'm gonna try and get the bait down in front of the fish. I'll let it free fall on slack line, and then once I get it down in front of them, I'm actually gonna shake the bait and hover it in place. Just trying to entice that fish into biting it, since they're feeding on these tiny little minnows that are just darting around down there. That's what I'm trying to mimic. So we're gonna pan around and kind of work down these banks and see if we can find us some more chasing some bait balls here that might want to fall for the flatworm. There we go, got that one. That one ate it and swam right at me. I have no idea where this fish is. Oh my gosh, it's huge. That's a much bigger fish than I thought it was. She literally caught it while it was falling down in the water. That was so cool. Hopefully we'll catch some bigger than this. That's still a nice smallmouth. Look at that. She wanted all of the flatworm. They love this thing. No matter where you go, you can always catch fish on a flatworm. I've caught them on the St. Lawrence, Champlain, Cayuga, all the Great Lakes, like literally anywhere there's smallmouth. I've caught them in lakes, rivers, streams on the flatworm. It's hard to beat that bait. We're gonna see how many we can catch. It's been a tough day of fishing. That is literally the biggest fish I've caught so far today. We're gonna see if we can catch us some more. This is all I'm looking for right there. Where'd they just go? Right there. Here we go. They're all over it. Got him. It's another giant. Oh my gosh. It's a bigger one. It's a bigger one. We just found the mega school. This is insane. Look at that girl. Woo-hoo. This lake isn't known for giant smallmouth. I'm not gonna catch like a 6 out of this lake, but that's a good fish. There's a lot of 12 inchers in here. Anything in that 3-pound range on this lake is actually like massive, and that is probably pretty close. So this here is the color of choice for the day. We have the natural shad flatworm. Not a color I use very often, but considering they're literally chasing shad, I'll see if I can get one. Some of them have been throwing up when I get them up here. These little baby shad. I'll see if I can get one to show you, but like that is perfectly mimicking what these fish are feeding on down here. So that's why I went with that one. Did catch a couple on green pumpkin. You can't go wrong with a green pumpkin one. If you're ever looking for just like the most smallmouth catching bait of all time, just get a green pumpkin flatworm. You will catch fish. Got that one. Oh my gosh, it's another huge one. It's another huge one. This is insane. This is insane. This is insane. I'm having so much fun learning this today. I'm glad I can take you guys along for the ride. Look at that tubby. Heck yeah. They're getting bigger. We're catching us a bag on the flatworm here. Got that one. It's another good one. They are liking the flatworm today. That might be the biggest one of the day. That might not be the biggest one of the day, but that's still another good fish. Look at her. The nice part about the flatworm is when you hook one of these fish, they usually don't come off. I mean, she's on there good. They all were on there good. You get them right in the roof of the mouth with that hook, right there, peg them right in the roof, and they don't come off until you get them in the boat. You just take your time and play them, catch some nice smallmouth. Got that one. Oh my gosh, it's a big one. Jeez. He swam right at the boat. I didn't even know how big he was. Okay, don't go in my trolling motor, please. I love smallmouth fishing so much. I've been due for a smallmouth video. I've been doing so much largemouth fishing, but finally got a chance to come fish for some smallies, and boy, did I miss them. Gotcha. It's good to know that the smallmouth have missed me too. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. While the drop shot is an amazing bait to catch a ton of fish, and the flatworm is one of the best ways to catch smallmouth like we showed you today, there's a few drop shot mistakes that I've made over the years that kept me from catching as many fish as possible. So if you want to see that video, check that one out right there. Hit the subscribe button down below, and thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. A lot more smallmouth to come here, hopefully in the near future.